We are Si and Sophie. This is Coastal News, a home and away podcast, your weekly episode companion podcast for your favourite Aussie soap.
Welcome to the Neighbourhood Rewatch versus Coastal News. The battle for the ages, neighbours versus home and away. The battle wages on. I am your host of sorts, JK. I have brought to battle beside me my friend Adam.
All right. I don't know if I want to be on your team anymore. It's just, I might switch.
This might be like a classic wrestling swerve where halfway through you just join the other team instead and it becomes a 3-on-1 against me. But we'll see how that folds out. We are battling, of course, Si and Sophie. Hello, Si and Sophie.
Hello.
Hello. We could do with another member, I think, after round one. So
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about round one side? Do you want to bring you brought it up now? So do you want to talk about it? What?
Nope.
What do you want to say?
What round one?
This is why the war wages on, because it was so very close. It was so very close on your own poll. On your own poll on Twitter, which I'm assuming is predominantly followed by home and away fans, but we did edge your own Twitter poll.
Yes.
We've got Neighbours fans on ours, unfortunately, as well.
Yeah, and Neighbours is flavour of the month. Just you wait till that dust settles.
Oh, fuck me. It has it settled, Jesus Christ. So we are
this week. I don't know about you, Sophie. Not feeling very confident about this one. We'll
No.
see.
Not at all. Mainly because I haven't prepared.
I felt more confident with Irene, so it's closer than I thought it was going to be, actually. But yeah.
Do you two want to tell the lovely listeners what this battle is going to be? Because the first one was show legend. We each picked a legend. You obviously picked the awesome Irene. She didn't quite get it over the line because she was narrowly defeated by old Jelly Belly himself, Harold Bishop. It was very close. It was good. It was a good battle. Do you want to tell everybody what this battle is going to be about? What's the deal this time?
So this time we're doing show deaths. Which Aussie soap has the best deaths? Pulls at your heartstrings, surprises you, shocks you. Which soap does it better?
And we haven't just picked one each, have we, this time? This time, what have we gone for?
We went for 5, right?
I hope so.
5 deaths each.
Oh. I mean, this is a very sensitive matter as well, deaths. So I'm glad that we've chose this because I'm very good with sensitive issues.
As are we.
This is the thing with soaps in general, isn't it? Is it really a soap if there's not just an uncanny amount of deaths, either in one street, one neighbourhood? People keep going to these places for some reason. They keep buying houses there, even though there's a very good chance they're not going to get out alive. So I think it's a key part of any good soap is a good death.
I agree. And soaps over the years have thought of more interesting and different ways to kill characters off. That even the ludicrous deaths are some of the best.
Well, what have you gone for? Have you gone for a mixture? Have you gone for ridiculous? Have you gone for heartfelt? What have you gone for, you guys?
So, we're a mix. So we've gone for some of the heartstring ones. Some are. We've mainly picked the biggest characters from Home and Away, the most loved characters that perished, and they actually have perished. Like none of this, didn't see a body, nobody, no crime nonsense. Like these are dead and buried.
Nobody, no crime. Did Bob Marley do that?
No, that was Taylor Swift.
Nobody, no crime.
Sampo original. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting because I think we've gone a different way about this. I think we've tried to get a nice mix and different flavors. I don't think it's particularly worried about the person. It was more the circumstances and how it happened for us, I think, were the key things when we look at these.
We started there, and then Sophie, feel free to stop me if I don't give too much away. We started there, and then we thought, how can we get votes?
It's true. Yeah.
Okay, so
This list
so
would
you
have been
went
completely
tactical.
different. Yeah, this list would have been completely different if it just been my favourite deaths, but it's not. We tried to think what would the viewers' favourite deaths be. So.
Oh, we're fucked this time because
I know we've come in overconfident here, going, yeah, we can talk about it.
we've just
Wrap it up.
picked things that made us laugh, really. I mean, I bet you two have put out a poll already that says, what deaths do you like? And now you're going to use them.
No, we're not that
sure?
organised.
Well, no, we have, really. We did it on that Twitter thing, community.
Oh, well, no one replied though. Well, we had one person reply.
Yeah.
Was it Macca or someone? I can't remember. Or
Yeah.
Michelle, one person replied. I don't even know if we included the death because I can't remember who it was.
Oh, this is going to go very
Tried.
well there.
Oops.
Just proves that cheaters never prosper. Just proves.
Well, you know, as well, because we're 1-0 down, we've got probably a bigger fire in us bellies, eh? So
that.
I
Yeah,
hope
this is.
so, because this is going to get boring if we win every week.
So before we get right into it, I've got a little fact for you. So I was looking at how many people have actually died on Neighbours since the show began, and I was quite surprised at this figure. I'm just going to drop the figure and see how you react to this. 68 people have died on Neighbours. I was actually
sounds
quite
about
shocked.
right.
I thought it was quite low.
Really? How long has
Yeah.
it been on? 30 years?
it's longer than Homer's, isn't it? What, Lynn? You're getting on for 40 years now, aren't you? On Neighbours.
37, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I agree. I thought there was going to be a few more than that. I mean, that it sounds ridiculous because it is just one little cul-de-sac in Australia and all these people keep fucking dying. But when you think about Neighbours, you think someone dies every couple of weeks, really. It's got a higher death count than Predator, I think.
God. I suppose there's injuries, isn't there? And there's stuff where people nearly die. A lot of that happens in soaps, doesn't it? Where you kind of come back from the brink of death. I think some people on our list today have nearly died a few times and then eventually did die. So.
That is true. You do get a lot of
Yeah.
injuries. Do you know how many people have died on Home and Away, you two?
Do we
I
act?
think
Right.
it's about 70 odd. Yeah.
Right, and this is why we're getting your votes, because I've looked it up. And I do no research for my real job, let alone this one. So it's actually, this was surprising, 113.
What?
Whoa!
That is mad. Considering we've only got a cast of 20 at the moment, that's mad. Like,
That's
there's only
almost
20
double
people.
Neighbours.
That is.
I wonder if that's something to do with the amount of season cliffhangers we have and Olympic
Yeah.
cliffhangers and stuff. I
The
don't know.
amount of car crashes alone that we've had,
Oh, yeah.
there's accounted
think-
50 of them.
I think living near the beach as well has got to contribute to that.
Oh, yeah. The sharks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how little people have died in the sea, actually. Yeah.
Have you got any sea deaths in yours? Don't tell us.
We've got
No,
a
spoilers.
related one. A related sea death.
Okay, well, let's get into him. Losers go first, so we'll let you two go.
Wow. What an arsehole.
We'll let you two go with your first one.
This is the thing. So just before we do, there's that thing, isn't there, about being a bad winner? And I have never met a worse winner in my life than this guy. He is horrendous. I would
very
love
gracious
to knock him down a
loser.
peg or two. Because he's an arsehole when he wins.
Yeah, I'm a very gracious loser because
Okay.
I'm
You're not.
I am. I'm generally used to losing, so I'm quite gracious with that. So when I do get that win, I fucking rub it in people's noses like you won't believe.
Fair
You
enough.
rub it in their noses or you rub their nose in it, you idiot. You rub it
I
in
do
someone's
both.
face or you rub their nose in it.
Right, go on, you two. Hit us with the first one.
Go for it, Soph.
Am I doing Bobby first?
Go. Yeah,
Okay.
chronology.
Chronology, yeah, let's go with that. So I'll give you a bit of an insight because I know you guys, you've never seen Home and Away, have you? I
No.
don't think.
Nope.
No. So
It's
I'm
like
not gonna.
It's like Neighbours, but not as good, right?
No, it's like Neighbours, but way better.
Yeah.
Never been cancelled. So you know.
Yeah.
And not even cancelled in its own country, still on, 8 o'clock every
Nice.
night. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. I'm going to give you a bit of a backstory about the character because obviously me just talking about her death, it's going to be a bit inconsequential without knowing who she was, I think, to start with. So, starting with Bobby Simpson, played by Nicole Dixon. She was introduced in the pilot episode of Home and Away back in 1988, and she was killed off in 1993. So she was on the show for about 5 years-ish. We found out eventually that she was the secret love child of Morag Bellingham, who is Alf Stewart. I'm sure you've heard of him. Alf Stewart's sister. She had a baby, and we didn't know that she had a baby. We didn't know who the father was. He didn't know that he'd had a child for a long time. The father was Donald Fisher, who was the headmaster of the school back when Flathead Fisher. So she's technically, I guess, Bobby is kind of like Home and Away royalty. If you think of the royal family, she's probably Harry, I guess, Prince Harry, in terms of the Home and Away legacy. But when she came to the show, she was a troubled tearaway, runaway teen. She was hiding out in the caravan park, making enemies of pretty much everybody, all the locals. Her adoptive dad was a violent alcoholic. He got sent to prison, and her adoptive mum had died of cancer when she was 15. So she'd gone off the rails a bit. She got a reputation as a wild child. She wasn't afraid to tell you exactly what she thought about you, and she was quite, for a sort of daytime soap in the late 80s, early 90s, she was quite edgy. She was not your typical girl next door, bikini on the beach kind of girl. She was a bit of a punker character, a bit of a punk, bit of a rocker. So I guess she was a bit of an icon for the teen angsty girls watching at home as well. But in true classic Home and Away style, she goes on the old soap journey, becomes an integral part of the Bay, ends up being part of the blended family, the Fletcher family, which are the main family that the show was centered around at the beginning, which is all these foster kids with Tom and Pippa, and then eventually Michael and Pippa being the sort of the parents of all these kids. She actually ended up being a foster mum herself as well. She got a foster child called Sam in 1991, and then later met his dad and married him, and then ended up having a family together. So she's on our list of deaths because it sounds like she's had this sort of troubled start in life, and then she's got married and got a foster kid, and everything seems to be nice and rosy, but it's a soap, so of course she didn't have a happy ending. So sometime in 1993 she went on a speedboat ride with her friends Adam and Luke, and Adam was kind of a show off. He was driving too fast, and showing off, going way too fast in his speedboat. And Luke sitting at the back of the boat with Bobby, he sees a piece of driftwood in the sea up ahead. He tries to warn Adam and tell him to slow down, but it's too late, and he just basically carols into this driftwood too fast, and then Bobby goes flying. You see her get flung up into the air off the back of this speedboat into the water, but she doesn't die immediately. She's stretchered off to hospital. We find out that she's in a coma. She's got swelling on the brain. She's got suspected brain damage, and everybody's rallied around her. So everyone's sat around her hospital bed. Sam and Greg, her family, Pippa and Michael are there. Flathead Fisher, who now knows that that's his daughter, he's sat around by the bed. They're all rooting for her to get better. But unfortunately, she's brain dead, and we have to switch her life support off. So this was like a huge death because it was actually on screen. This decision to switch her life support off, everyone's sitting around the bed crying, saying their goodbyes, and then cue flatline machine. And she's all bandaged up and lying there, and it was pretty sad, really. It was one of those deaths where when you're a child, it was kind of like, because I think I was probably 10 or 11 when this aired in the UK, and it was actually pretty terrifying. It was pretty traumatizing as a child, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why I'm still scared of boats. I'm still scared of the sea. I think there's loads of deaths on Home and Away that have contributed to my fear of water generally, and fear of boats. It was one of those things that's quite traumatizing. But actually, I watched the clip on YouTube yesterday, and watching her getting flung off the back of the speedboat now is quite comical if you watch it back. I don't know whether it's Si, do you agree with that? At the time? You were younger than me though. Do you remember?
No, I didn't see that first time round.
No.
Much
I
younger.
remember it being quite traumatizing the first time around, but then now watching it back, I was like, it's actually quite funny to just see this body, which is
Yeah.
blatantly a mannequin or something, goes 20 foot into the air off the back of this
Yeah.
speedboat into the sea, and it's like, oh, it was not actually as traumatizing as I
The
remembered.
driftwood's like a twig.
Yeah, yeah,
Bubbles in the sea, you know, like
yeah.
oh.
Next
Yeah.
summer holidays, then you'll be fine to go on a water skiing trip.
Yeah.
I love it.
I love it. Yeah, no, it's not. No, I'm not. I'm still. I saw Jaws when I was like 8, and that traumatized me. So no, sea's always been a bad thing. Bobby's one of them deaths that it kind of everybody was affected by it. Like I say, she came into the bay as like this troubled teen, and then she ended up being really loved and a really well loved character. And it's one of those deaths that always makes all the BuzzFeed quizzes, because not just because she died and she was really popular, but also because after she died 2 years later, she was in another scene where someone else, Ailsa, who ended up being married to Mr. Stewart later on, she's on prescription medication. She's going through a whole load of shit herself, and she's tripping balls in the kitchen one night and freaking out on this medication, and she sees Bobby's ghost essentially coming out of the fridge as she's hallucinating. And that's something that everyone still talks about as like one of the wildest things that's ever happened on a soap, and it makes all the compilation shows and stuff like that. So I think Bobby is just like an iconic character for lots of reasons, both dead and alive, I think.
I reckon you get. I don't know. I feel like we should have even come up with a bit of a grading system for this, because I think that's a good one. It's got a stunt in it, which I think is always good, like a big kind of like that'll be on the next week on the show or something like that.
Yeah.
It's got a flat line, which is always soap gold, I think. And then it's got a ghost afterwards, and that's high point scoring right there, straight out the gate, I think.
You get to
It's a mad one.
You can see someone like switch something off as well.
Yeah, you see it. You see the whole thing. Like they're sort of sat around the bed. Everyone said their goodbyes. Then her adopted foster kid is sort of taken out the rooms because he's only like, I don't know, 10. He's young. And then you see her husband, and the switch just goes, and then you just hear the do do do, and then the flat line, and then it was as a 10-year-old, that was traumatic. So it's like 1 minute she's on the back of the boat having a great time, the next minute she's dead. You know, it's like, ugh. And she was one of my favorite characters at the time as well, because she was a bit of a gobby kind of punk chick. So I thought she was pretty cool, but yeah. But now it's quite comical. Watch the clip of her flying off the back of that boat. It's quite comical now that I'm older.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned water, because that's where our first one ends up. Well, I say first 3. Yeah, that's right. We're coming out with 3 deaths straight away.
3 in one. We are not messing about.
1. We're talking about David, Liliana, and Serena Bishop, who all ended up dead in the water after a plane crash. Take that. Big, massive stunt to start off. No little twigs. A massive, massive plane crash.
I regret saying that now.
So it was 2005, I think, and there's some sort of anniversary for Neighbours. And they decided that Paul Robinson, owner of Lassiter's Worldwide, was going to do what's called a joy flight. So apparently that was a thing back in the 1940s. People would just get on planes, get a bit pissed, have a great time, get off, and then fly back again and get a bit more pissed. It's not like that these days. It's not that fun at all, if I'm perfectly honest.
Yeah, then have you clearly.
They are anything but joy flyers, aren't they? So they've organised this thing, and there's all these golden tickets like fucking Willy Wonka going on, and everyone on this cul-de-sac somehow gets a ticket. It's meant to be for the wider Erinsborough. Actually, no, it's meant to be worldwide, I think, these tickets. But yeah, somehow 95% of these tickets end up in one cul-de-sac in Australia, and they're passing them about. And we get to the actual plane, and there's a bomb on it.
Oh.
We get to see the bomb placed on there as everyone's dressed up in the 1940s gear, having a great old time, really excited to all this, and we get to see the bomb placed on there. Halfway through the flight, drama's going on, because there's always dramas going on. Boom. Well, I say boom. They didn't really put much money into this one. they were filming it, and then the camera just went and shook, and they went, "Oh, pretend you're crashing now." So they ended up in the water. The whole plane was in the water, and
Wait,
Harold Bishop's. Sorry, Si, go on.
did the bomb go off?
Oh yeah, it went off mid-flight. Yeah.
But the
So at
plane.
the start of this, nobody's checked for this bomb. There has been no pre-flight checks at all here. The bomb is like just someone wanders in, they put it on like the wheel, they set it like it's going to go off in 35 minutes, and then they walk out. Nobody checks this plane in any way. They're just all too happy with the free champers. They're on the plane, and yeah, it goes off mid-flight, right over the sea. And yeah, there's not a big explosion. I think there might be some shaky CGI or something like that. But then that's the cliffhanger. The plane goes down, and then the next episode, everyone's in the water. Well, I say people are in the water. Next episode, aren't they? That's where it picks up. Next episode.
Yeah, people are in the water. Some people get to shore, but there's 3 people who never come to shore, and that is David, Liliana, and Serena. So David Bishop is Harold Bishop's son. Liliana is his wife, and Serena is therefore Harold's grandkid. He loses his entire family in one go. This is a character who's already lost his wife at this point, already lost his other previous daughter as well.
Some would say he's a show legend.
Someone
Yeah,
says the best show.
he loses everybody, but there's a nice bit before they go. So he's just reconciled with his son and his daughter-in-law and all that kind of stuff. And he gives his granddaughter a hug, and he says, "Oh yeah, I'm glad we've sorted all that out. I love you, Dad. I love you too, son." And it's one of those like you straight away you're like, they're not getting back. They're dead. They're dead straight away. These 3 poor bastards. So, and yeah, that is what happens. There's like it's nighttime, they're clinging on, but unfortunately, they don't make it. And what is the fallout from this? How does Harold take this?
Yeah, the best part is that he then blames Paul Robinson for organising this flight and for the death of the rest of his family. So on Boxing Day, he tries to strangle him with his axe.
Say, was this leading up to the? Oh Lord.
We did watch this clip, didn't we? After last time, we did watch this clip of him creeping up like hitman, assassin. Yeah.
That's the whole reason why he does that, because his whole family's dead and he blames Paul.
Ah.
Yeah, that's a good reason.
Yeah.
But who was it? Because we still don't know who's placed the bomb at this stage, but we find out a little bit after. Who was it who placed this bomb?
It was Paul Robinson's son. Yeah, he's a strange son in New Zealand because he's got fucking kids all around the world. That's Paul Robinson. His son in New Zealand hated his dad because he never went over to New Zealand to spend any time with him. So I'm going to blow up a plane. He did it to try and kill Paul, and I think he was with Izzy at the time as well. He did it to kill them, but then ended up killing the Bishop's whole family instead.
Oops.
There you go. That is our first one.
Gosh.
That's all of that.
Dramatic.
I quite like
Dramatic.
that. Revenge, grief, yeah, spiteful.
Classic soap. Yeah. Love
I
that.
love plot me. So the bomb in the wheel. Why has it not been checked? Full of holes. Love it.
Oh yeah, this was post 9/11 as well.
Oh.
God.
So we've had what was it, the first one? So for jet ski on the first one.
She flew off the back of a speedboat. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got speedboat, plane crash. This is good. We're getting a good mix. What have we got next from the bay?
Right. Should we do KCB? And I'll do it.
Yeah. Go for it.
So it's not. This isn't a stunt. This is a shooting. So we'll get away from the transport link. So, did I mention the Braxtons in episode 1? And I said to you that it's this surf gang that brought of tats and drugs and sex to the bay, and we loved it. So there was 3 Braxton brothers. You've got head of the household, Daryl Braxton. You've got the buffhead middle brother, Heath, always making trouble and giving the game away. And then you've got baby Casey, who was a teen when the Braxtons joined the show and shook the bay. And he was attending the high school, trying to get on with some sort of normal life, but had this second part of his life outside of sort of Summer Bay High and sort of the structure of the school, where, you know, he'd be carrying drugs, or his father was making him shoot his first victim because he'd wronged him in the past or something, and, you know, just to prove something to his father and all the rest of it. So, who, for a few weeks while he was out of jail. And so you can imagine the stuff these guys got up to, and the women along the way. And the Daryl Brax, the head brother, had what's the word? He had a romantic involvement with the other side, with the Bay policewoman, and it was a bit of a struggle for the old Braxton Riverboy gang to accept that.
That statement sounds very like Jada Pinkett Smith.
Absolutely, you're on the right lines. And it began in secret. The brothers weren't happy. The wider Riverboy community wasn't happy about it. And they sort of used her for inside info in the police, and she would believe that he would always change, and that old trope. And long story short, she ends up dead by the Pirovich family, who they had beef with, as gangs do, long story short. And Jake Pirovich goes to prison for killing Brax's policewoman girlfriend, escapes prison. And I only realised this when I was looking this up earlier, because I'd forgotten all about Josh Barrett. There's another character called Josh Barrett who murdered somebody and pretended he was blind, who was involved in trying to stop him. And basically, this is how nuts this death is. He's going after Josh for wronging his brother, eye for an eye. There was even a spin-off Home and Away TV movie, Home and Away Eye for an Eye, that sort of went through all.
Brilliant.
He's Jake Pirovich. He's escaped from prison for killing Brax's missus, and goes to shoot Josh Barrett, misses, and hits Casey, the younger brother, instead, who then dies in a weeping Brax, head of the household, taps gang members' arms. He dies in his arms, and then it just has these insane repercussions afterwards, because then it's like, you know, a gang member's way of dealing with that is revenge.
It's like a
an eye
turf
for an eye,
war, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah. It was mad.
It was nuts. And Casey,
I always hate that when someone gets shot by accident.
through the window.
Me too. It's crap. I hate it when people get shot in general. Really, it's not a nice experience, is it? But yeah, accident. That's wrong place, wrong time, and all that kind of stuff. It sounds like the writers must have been watching, like, I don't know, they'd just seen Goodfellas, or they got caught up with the rap war or something. It sounds like they were inspired by all these other gang-related things.
Absolutely.
I mean, cool as well.
These guys split the audience, right? They took over the show, and you either loved them or you switched off, because they just, in fact, very famously, the actor who plays good old Alf Stewart, Flaming Galar, apparently went up to the office and said, "I'm not happy with the way the show's going." So yeah, they were probably well influenced a lot. I think, you know, a female audience, they knew what they were doing, you know.
Did it do well though? Like, he's obviously a stickler. He's from like the old guard kind of thing. But did it ultimately do well, like ratings and audience and things like that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Proper boosted the show. They came over to the UK and did episodes. They did 2 spin-off TV films. Yeah, it did loads.
I think that's a good point getter as well. If you've got a spin-off due to a storyline or something like that, whether, you know, when Hollyoaks did those late night ones and they were a little bit more filthy than usual, stuff like that, I think that's always a good thing. Neighbours got, not exactly, I think they probably have had a few spin-offs, but we found on YouTube not so long ago Neighbours versus Time Travel and Neighbours versus Zombies, which they just made as like a YouTube series. If you've not seen it, check it out. It's everything you can imagine and more. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, they are really, really fantastic. Yeah, they never did like, there was never an official spin-off, was it? It was just, it was when like webisodes were a thing. So like early 2010s when you could watch extra content online if you went on the website. It was all there to boost website hits. So they filmed these.
Yeah, the latest one of these was like 2017. It's the last one we had. Yeah.
When was this death then, Si? What year are we talking for this one?
This was about 2016. Yeah. Depending on if you're watching Ozpace or not. But yeah, what I love about it is what happens because Brax ends up inside himself because he just completely, goes mad after this, like venomous. And he ends up, and on his way to prison, his car, the police van that's taking him there, is run off the road into a lake. No body, no crime. While his new girlfriend is pregnant as well, unbeknownst to him, has a baby, and which is named Casey. Casey Jr. And the legacy lives on. So it had a ripple for a good few years afterwards.
Like it.
And he came back, because nobody. So he wasn't dead, and then he came back and was like to meet his baby, and yeah.
I like it.
I like it a lot. And I suppose the next one we've got for that is not that epic in this, but it's really forgettable, and I think only really hardcore Neighbours fans will remember this at all. But I think Adam said earlier, this one just makes us laugh because of the scenario of it, and it's Brendan Bell. He was never a main character on the show. He was the estranged husband of Tess. Tess showed up on the show, and then she was a teacher, and you find out later she's got a husband. And I don't know how much they actually went into this, but I think they insinuated that he was an abusive husband. So he was
just a bit of a cock, wasn't he? He was a bit controlling. I don't know if he ever actually hit her or anything, but he was just a bit of a dick. He wouldn't let her go out. He wanted to know who she was with all the time. She'd started seeing somebody else, and he was like, "What are you doing?" Blah blah blah. And he was trying to win her back, even though she was quite clear at one point she didn't want anything to do with him. And then he kind of manipulated her into kind of taking him back. So he wasn't a particularly good guy. He was winding up Toadie on the street. He'd spotted that he was a bad guy, and Brendan was still just a bit of a cock. The reason why this is quite a big moment as well, because I remember it for when it happened. This one was about 98 or something like that. I'd gone on holiday. 98, 99. I'd gone on holiday at the time, and this was when we were really enjoying the show. And I was away for about 2 weeks, and then I don't know if I asked him to or not, but JK recorded all the episodes for me on VHS because we were just enjoying it a lot of the time. I think we were both big like Steph Scully fans, Libby Kennedy fans at the time, and we needed to know what they were up to that week. But it ended up where it was Steph and Libby were on a motorbike, and they were it was a rainy, stormy night, and they were racing back. What can you remember what they were racing back for?
I think they'd been camping, and then they were losing lights. They're like, shit, we're in the middle of fucking whoop up here, and we need to get back. So they're going a bit faster than they should do. But on the other side of the road is Brendan Bell, who's been trying to give Tess space. Tess has got a whole new life in Ramsey Street. She's gone out dancing with one of the other teachers from school. Not romantically, like she's not interested in him at all, and this guy's not interested in her.
You say that, but two teachers on a night out.
And so he shows up because he's going to give her something, or he's bought her some flowers. He's like, no, I'm going to make some flowers. Yeah, he's bought some flowers, and shows up, and Tony's like, she's out in a fucking nightclub, mate. Sorry. So he chucks the flowers on the floor, backs up out the drive, knocks over the letterbox, which is always great, and then speeds down the road trying to head to this nightclub. And it's like Adam said, it's a rainy night. You can't really see. Wipers are fucking going back and forth. And he fucking clips Steph and Libby, sends them fucking flying. I think he tries to overtake a bus.
He does. There's a bus, and he tries to overtake. He doesn't want to wait. He tries to shoot past on the other side of the road. Only clips him, but it sends Steph, Scully, and Libby flying on this motorbike, skidding into the road. It's got a lot of shaky camera work, which is always nice on a soap to show you just how scary it is. And they go flying, and that's the cliffhanger for that episode. It's like, oh my god, what's happening? So next episode, carry it on in the hospital. Everyone's getting wheeled in. Carl's rocking up. He's got the phone call straight away because he's on the back phone for Erinsborough Hospital, obviously, Dr. Carl Kennedy. And they're all coming in to see what's going on. Libby's family are coming. Steph's family are coming. No one comes for Brendan because he's not on the main titles and no one really gives a fuck. But this is a scary moment because they're all in a bit of a bad way here. And it turns
Libby's
out...
Libby's on my foot, I think.
Yeah.
Steph's fairly unharmed, but pretty shaken and came out of it quite lucky, I think.
Yeah, I think she was the first one on her feet, sort of thing. And Brendan, no one's really there for him. Tess eventually turns up. He's on the old life support machine again.
Turns out they should have been checking on him because he fucking carts it.
He just died.
He just died.
Goes,
Oh no.
Completely off screen, just dies.
Off
Someone just goes, yeah.
So he's piece of work.
Yeah.
Line villain, not a main character. What else did you say about him?
Bell end.
Dies off screen, and you
Dies off screen.
time.
At one point, like, so you never see him in the hospital. You never see him. But what you see is Tess goes in to see him, and you see just his hand. And he, like, she holds his hand. It's not him, let's be honest. That actor's contract ended a while ago. It's just his hand, and she's like going, "Oh, maybe maybe he wants so bad," and all that kind of stuff. And then she leaves him, and then someone just basically shouts. I think it's just like the assistant producer or one of the writers went, "He's dead," and that's the end of Brendan. We never see him again. Tess is pretty she's pretty chilled out the next day. She's just getting on with it.
She's just over it.
So yeah, that was the end of Brendan Bell. In that situation, though, Libby does find out that she cannot have children because she's in the accident, and that story rumbles on for a while because she's with Drew at the time, and they were ready to, start a family and all that kind of stuff. They finally gonna become that show couple that everyone was pulling for, and she can't. And at that point, she says to Drew, "I can't have kids. I'm not gonna marry you now. Let's call it a day." So that was quite a big moment for the show off the back of, what was he called again?
Off the back of some knobhead.
Barry something.
Listen,
Honestly,
that's soap law, right?
Yeah.
Baddie has to have his comeuppance, so it's it's funny, and some might call it poor treatment of that character, but he has to be treated bad at the end because he was a dick.
That's it.
Them's the rules.
We've been trying to get him, Tess, anyone who was there on that day, just to find out, just to see if the actor pissed someone off or what happened, because he was just shown the door very quickly.
To be honest, it's the main reason I started the podcast was to find out what the fuck happened that day, because it's such an odd scene she's just acting with. And Krista Vendor, who's the actress, does a fucking great job acting with his hand, but poor girl, she pours her heart out and she's just got this fucking hand just flopping around everywhere. It did really make us laugh. Adam said I videotaped these for him. That is absolutely true. I also gave him show notes as well. I wrote a little diary while he was away going, so he'd watch the episode and I'd go, "Oh my god, what did you think about this? This was fucking brilliant. This was stupid.
Aww.
This made me laugh." Yeah.
Even then, trying to host something and get other people's opinions.
Pre-digital podcast. I love it. I love that.
Yeah, I don't think I'd kissed a girl at that point.
Wait,
That it fucking showed.
Interesting, you know, Steph Scully. So her real life son, he might have been in Neighbours a bit as well.
Yeah, he was.
Was our Dr. Logan diagnosed everyone with PTSD and then got the boot because he didn't get vaccinated.
Yeah, he got a pretty swift
Allegedly,
exit.
allegedly. Let's
He
not
didn't
make
get
that
killed
actionable.
off though, did he? He didn't get killed off, but he did get sort of out quickly, didn't
On
he?
the boat.
Written out of the show quite fast. Yeah.
Yeah, we had an interesting
Wow.
with character replacements last year because there was
Yeah.
a vaccine date.
It didn't get vaccinated for whatever reason.
Wow.
It's interesting. Maybe that's why that fucking I bet this. I don't know.
What was it in 1998? Was that like bird flu or foot and mouth or something? Was
Yeah,
it just...
mad cow or something.
Mad
Yeah.
cow,
Yeah.
yeah, mad cow
Yeah.
disease was a big thing.
Mm.
I remember being on holiday in Spain, and then like, obviously you get the English papers, but like a day later, and then like all the red tabloids were like mad cow disease. I'm like, Dad, we're never gonna be able to go home. We're gonna have to stay in Spain. And they were just like, yeah, just don't go to farms and touch cows, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And then you cried again because that's what your hobby was at the time.
Yeah, I mean, again, I hadn't kissed a girl, so.
Just cows at that point.
And plenty after that as well.
Oh dear.
Right, next, what do you want to go again? So far side for your third one.
Yeah. Which one should we do next? Si?
Got to be Shane Parrish, has it not?
Yeah, Shane Parrish. Haha.
Well, I've heard this name.
Shall I do Shane?
Yeah, I'll chime in.
Chime in. Thank you. I will need some help. Like I say, winging it. Shane Parrish. Right. Okay. So you might have heard of this person because he was played by Dieter Brummer, who was a bit of a 90s heartthrob. Every teenage girl probably had a poster of him from Smash Hits or some magazine on their wall in the 90s. He was introduced into Home and Away in 1992, and he was killed off about 4 years later, 1996. He came into the show as a 15-year-old. He was introduced into the show because his brother Nick was already living in the Bay. He was the local copper, and he was living with Donald Flathead Fisher because he was dating, I think it was Donald's niece or Donald's, some kind of relation of Donald. He was living with them. In the first episode that we saw Shane, he was actually looking for Nick. So he turned up at Fisher's house looking for him because he knew where he lived. No one was home. He was knocking on the door. No one was answering. So in true Shane style, he breaks into the house through the patio window and makes himself a sandwich, and just chills out in the house for a bit. Cause that's just gives you an idea of what kind of character Shane was. So he was kind of portrayed to us as the audience as kind of like the black sheep of his family. His parents were quite rich. We didn't actually see them; they were off screen, but we were led to believe that his parents were quite rich. They were lawyers. His older brother was this well-respected cop in the Bay, and Shane wasn't academically bright. He wasn't like his brother. He wasn't driven. He didn't really have a plan for what he wanted to do with his life. I mean, who does at 15, I guess. Anyway, but we
Still
were
looking for
given
it now.
Yeah, exactly. We were given the impression that like his parents cared about money, and gave him all the material things in the world that he could ever want, but they didn't love him. Or certainly not as much as they loved his brother. They kind of compared him to his brother. So we always had this kind of like inferiority complex, I guess, which came out as this rebellious side. He was getting involved in, stealing cars, getting caught up in the wrong crowd, that kind of thing, getting into trouble. So obviously it was a huge hit with the audience. Like I say, he was a 90s heartthrob, bit of a bad boy. And they paired him up with someone else that you probably will know, a character on the show called Angel, who was played by Melissa George, who's in loads of B movies now. I think pretty much. I don't think she's anything. She was in an episode of Friends, I think, wasn't she? I think that was like her career high at one point. But they were like this power couple, so they're like this super soap 90s couple. They're like the next big thing. Everyone was talking about them. They had quite a big storylines together. So one of the big storylines they had as a couple was Angel got mown down in the car by Al Stewart, and she became paralyzed as part of one of their storylines. and then magically healed as she got on her wedding day.
We've had that
she-
twice in this.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, it does seem to be a classic soap sort of story. Like she was
wheels to the
never
aisle
going to walk
the
again.
wedding.
Yeah, she was in a
And
wheelchair.
just gets out of the wheelchair, walks down the aisle. Like, okay.
She hobbled. To be fair, she kind of hobbled down the aisle. It wasn't like a striding. But yeah, she was wheeled to the back of the church, and then all of a sudden, she got the energy to stand up and actually hobble to the front and get married. So that was like a oh my god, Angel's healed, which was a mad storyline. I think both Shane and Angel have been quite unlucky with road accidents, because I'll talk about how Shane Parrish became Shane Parrish. They were hosting. I'm just going to call him that from now on. They were hosting a dinner party at their house. And Angel decides at the end of the dinner party she wants to make fried ice cream for dessert, like you do in the 90s. So she sends him out on his motorbike to go and pick up some ice cream because she hasn't got any. So he's out on his ice cream errand, riding around on his motorbike in the dark. And you see him almost get hit by this massive truck that was coming down the other side of the road. He's obviously not paying attention, manages to swerve away from this truck. And then just as he's done that, he gets hit by this car and struck by this car, left for dead. The driver kind of does this really cold thing where he kind of backs up the car, looks at him. You don't see the driver, you just see this kind of person who's looking through a dark window, and just leaves him there for dead, lying in the road. But miraculously, that doesn't kill him. The clip of the car doesn't kill him. He goes to hospital. He has internal bleeding. He's fractured his ribs. He has his spleen removed, and he goes into a coma. But ultimately, he does wake up and he does make a full recovery. Or does he? That is the question. So one day, Shane
and wasn't, Sophie, because otherwise he wouldn't be on your list.
He wouldn't be on the list. No, he wouldn't. Spoiler alert.
Adam.
Now this is quite a comical. This is a traumatic / comical death. Well, I find it quite comical. So one day, Shane and Angel, and she's pregnant now. We found out when he was in the coma that she was actually pregnant with his baby, and she's already got another son called Dylan. So Shane, pregnant Angel, and Dylan were out to celebrate their anniversary. So they'd gone out for the day to this like touristy, idyllic spot.
On the headland,
on the headland. Yeah, it was on is it on the Stewart's Point? I think it's there, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's on Stewart's Point. And they're having this lovely day out, taking lots of photos on a massive 90s camera, playing like baseball with the kid and that kind of thing, and having this nice picnic. And then all of a sudden Shane gets really sweaty and he's burning up, and he's saying that he's not feeling very well. And then he's lying on dramatically, like prone on this rock, while she's going, "Oh my God, darling, can I help you? What can I do? Can I call a doctor?" And she's screaming out to all these tourists, like foreign tourists in the background, who just don't even understand a word that she's saying, going, help me, while he's lying on this rock. And basically he just dies of an infection that we didn't know he had as a result of the motorbike accident, which is just mad.
He'd cut his finger on a piece of wire or something, and it turns out it was septicemia that killed him.
Yeah.
Did you not check this at the hospital?
Obviously not. Obviously not.
No fucking wonder you've had double the deaths of neighbours. They're standing in some of these hospitals. Jesus.
MRSA, I think that's where it came from. I think it came from Homer's. He did come back, technically. He did come back after his death as well. So he did get a kind of ghost storyline, because when he died, Angel was pregnant with his kid. And when she went into labour, she was like being driven to hospital in a storm, and they got lost on the way. She was in labour, and they were like, oh, I don't know what. And I think it was Isla Fisher, Shannon, that was driving the car at the time, and they were lost. They couldn't see where they were going. And then this kind of person on a motorbike appears out of nowhere, and they follow him to safety essentially, and then he disappears into nowhere. And then we were led to believe that was Ghost Shane helping his wife get to hospital to deliver the baby.
Google how many ghosts you've had on your program, because this is
everyone's come back as a ghost.
Or a vision.
Or a hallucination in the fridge when you're tripping your tits off in the kitchen. Yeah.
We haven't had that many ghosts, to be honest.
No?
I think Jim Robinson was a fairly famous one. I think he showed up in a Christmas bauble one year.
Love it.
Yeah, On the finale though, when the finale of Neighbours, everyone was popping up, weren't they? Like Madge was there, Doug Willis was there,
Yeah.
Kylie was like, no, Kylie's not dead, but like there was a lot of ghosts rocking up on the last day.
Oh
Yeah.
dear,
Wow.
spooky.
The end of that. I think the style of Home and Away lends itself quite well to it because it's like it exists.
Quite camp, isn't
well.
it?
Yeah. And it really pushes that stuff, time jumps and back flashes and forward flashes, and it does it. It's part of the fabric of the style.
Do you think that Home and Away set the stage for Lost? Because it sounds quite similar at the moment. Like time jumps, we have to go back, ghosts, polar bears, weird gangs.
Yeah, maybe. Who
Maybe
knows?
It sounds similar to me. I like it a little bit more after every one of our little chats. So
Don't watch it right now because until the band's gone, it's going to be a bit of a yawn fest. But yeah, go back.
At work, somebody said to me a few years ago, "Oh, I've caught an episode of Home and Away the other night," and they were like, "It's not what I thought it was. Like, it's like it's okay to watch it. Like, I don't. It's not that uncool." I was like, "Yeah, it's all right." But the Braxtons. So, yeah.
Cool. Right. Let's move on to our third one then. So this is Julie Martin.
Oh, you going for it, are you?
I'm going for Julie Martin. Yeah. I'm not going to tell you how she died yet. I'm going to give you a little bit of story.
I remember her. She married to Phil.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this was 95, I think. This was generally when Neighbours is considered at its worst.
Whoa, hang on.
That's when I watched it.
I watched it then. It was like 94, 95, this.
Yeah, universally, this is considered the worst of Neighbours.
Oh.
So in the lead up to her death, spoilers, she'd managed to successfully turn pretty much all her friends and family against her. A couple of examples of this is that her son had already tried to kill her. He was having some issues and decided that he hated his mum and wanted to kill her, so he tried to poison her. She decided she wanted to go back to school and was just an absolute bitch to all the people in the school, including the teachers and the students. She was just like, well, I'm fucking 35. I know this shit, and I could beat you up if I wanted to. So that's what I'm gonna do. Just picking on these poor fucking 15-year-olds. Got a clue. My favorite thing that she tried to do. There was a Chinese family that moved in. The Martin's dog went missing. She obviously accused them of eating it.
Oh God.
Oh
yeah,
God, you are joking.
94 Neighbours.
Wow.
Yeah, very much considered the worst part of Neighbours. But she seemed to be turning the corner here, and her and Phil had been a bit rough. Like I said, she pissed everyone off, including Phil. But they decided to go have a nice romantic weekend away at a murder mystery to rekindle their love and their romance.
You know what she did before they went on this thing though, because they were falling out for a long while, and I watched a little bit this today. Do you know what she did to Phil?
Ooh, what?
He had a worm farm.
What?
Like he did. He had a worm farm. She poured boiling water on it and killed all his worms. That's horrendous.
That's worse than the Chinese stuff.
No, that was worse.
I think that's worse.
I still vote for that. The Chinese racism over killing some worms, to be fair.
Oh my God.
Awful.
Oh God.
So we go to a murder mystery weekend, and the reason we picked this, one, it's a funny story, and the idea
romantic?
of someone dying at a murder mystery, we thought brilliant. That's actually good.
Yeah.
But what we wanted to do was also mention that because you guys have got something coming up that you could maybe tell people about now, and we can link it in and look at us being like proper like podcasters and stuff.
Wow. Thank you. I'm gonna have to leave it to Si because I don't know the details off the top of my head.
Just knows the time. It's funny you say that. Thanks, Adam. Yes, home and away fans and anybody else if you like. We are doing a meetup for our podcast listeners, for home and away fans, and we are doing a home and away murder mystery event in March in Manchester next year, and hopefully nobody dies. So come along.
Are Neighbours fans allowed, or are you going to have a big bouncer stood at the door saying, if you like Neighbours, you're not coming in? What's the deal? 'Cause we are
Yes.
both free. We have checked our schedules. We are free in March and would love to come, but obviously we hate home and away. So is this still allowed or no?
Neighbours fans are allowed. There's no prejudice. But you're going to have to embrace the homers on the day.
We can do that.
We can do that.
We're educating you, so you'll be fine by March.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And what is it? Do we know it? Have we got a venue yet? Do we know what is this? Because I love a murder mystery and the idea of it all and everything. Like, can you divulge anything extra, or is it all a bit hush hush in the works at the moment?
It's hush hush in the works. We have a couple of venues. Well, the venue is to be confirmed. It's going to be Manchester City Centre for traffic, and we polled our listeners about destinations and where they can get to and things. So it's going to be Manchester City Centre. We've spoken to a couple of venues. It's not going to be like big, it's going to be an intimate group, but depending on how many people book will depend where we end up. And we've got a number in mind. We're about half booked now already. So if you're thinking of coming, book before it fills up.
Pencil it in.
Amazing.
The link's somewhere on the social medias.
I'm going to do that as soon as this is finished.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic.
Feel free to kill JK off as well.
Well, there we go. And and actually we are writing the murder mystery in the home and away universe. So it's going to be camp. It's going to be fun.
Oh, that sounds absolutely fantastic. I'm very excited for this. Again, if we're allowed past the bouncers.
Well, it's going to be a Sophie, so.
I was going to say, it's me, innit? You're taller
Right,
than 5
stop
foot
promoting your
5, you're
shit.
in.
We were talking about one of our deaths. We're trying to win this. Shut up now.
Yeah, one of the reasons we picked this, obviously to talk about what you're doing next March. I love the fact that a murder mystery weekend ends up with a murder that is also a mystery, because we find Julie the next day on the ground, classic kind of pose, like one arm's up here, one arm's down there, almost like a kind of Egyptian kind of pose that you get.
Like a fall.
Yes. Yeah. And because
or was she pushed, or who pushed her? And it's a full-on mystery. Some weird inspector turns up. He's not in the credits or anything like that. He just rocks up, I'm inspector, whatever. And they all start singing to him straight away. They say, they were having some problems. She did set fire to his worms. All that kind of like his own kids drop him right in it here. Like,
oh yeah.
They ask her daughter Debbie Martin. They say, how have they been getting on? Any violence in the family? She was like, no, nothing like that. She did throw a glass at his head last night though, and he did say he would murder in her asleep. So there's a mystery going on. Phil, we don't know at this stage if he's done it or not. He's distraught. She isn't dead though. This is what confused me when I watched it again. She's down like she's dead in the classic Colonel Mustard with the candlestick kind of pose, and then turns out nope, she's not dead. So they take her to hospital, hook her up to all the shit in the hospital. Beep, beep. she's crashing. Beep.
Oh, flatliner.
Gone. This is after Helen Daniels has rocked up with her other daughter, Hannah. And Helen Daniels is brilliant here, by the way. She says to Hannah, probably going to die, mate. Hannah's like this little 6-year-old girl, and she's like, oh my God, is my mum going to be okay? Is she going to pull through? Helen Daniels goes, not going to lie to you, probably dead. Want to go and get an ice cream. That's what she says to her. She says, do you want an ice cream? And Hannah's like, no, I don't really want an ice cream at the moment. And then the inspector's in. Can we ask you some questions? She's literally just died. But then what I spotted as well, because I watched the Aftermath episode this afternoon, no one's asked the day after. No one is bothered. Like, no one really cares. The inspector's still like fishing around, so Phil's more worried that he's going to get caught, which kind of makes you think, oh, maybe he did do something. Debbie, I think there's a start of maybe some sort of eating disorder kind of storyline going on, which is horrible, but she's like stuffing her face the whole time. Like, she keeps hiding these cakes from everybody. So that's what I think it was. And then what makes it even more of an iconic episode is on this one where Julie Martin dies, there's a new character rocks up to the street and he's thinking about buying one of the houses. It's Dr. Carl Kennedy just having a look round.
Oh, I didn't know
Happened at
that.
the same sort of time.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, so it goes on for a little while. And like I said, Phil is the prime suspect at this point. So I think to the point where the police are about to charge him with the murder. And then one of the daughters, can't remember the girl's name, Adam might remember, says, oh, no, wait a minute. I've just remembered what happened. I've got these repressed memories, but I did see her really pissed and she fell off the roof.
She just fell.
Yeah, she was drunk, she was up, she was having a sulk up on the tower, and she just kind of falls off herself.
I think she was massively pissed. I think that's what the daughter said as well, is that she's massively pissed here.
I am getting worried for Manchester now because this is sounding quite likely.
Just make sure the venue's one floor.
Yeah, I was going to say, can we have ground floor room, please? Sorry, because I'm a bit scared now. Oh dear! Wow. So
Well,
we're not a murder.
Here's the thing with Julie Martin though as well. So a little bit similar to the Brendan one. Part of the reason why I think some of the characters aren't too bothered and we're moving on with Dr. Carl Kennedy moving in, she was a bitch. She was horrible to all these people.
Did anybody care? Did the audience care that she was killed? Or
I remember this and thinking, she's a horrible lady. Like, I was fairly young at the time. I was just like, I hope something bad happens to this woman. She's not nice, and like all those different things that she'd done, and she wasn't like a cool villain or someone you could go, oh yeah, they've done all these cool things or whatever, like your gangs in the swamp or wherever they are. She was just this horrible, like, she was a bit of a Karen kind of character, and she was just horrible to everyone. So good riddance.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and the actress, like you said about the actor who plays Alf as well. The actress who played her, she was recast. She was originally in like 1985, I think, in the start, and she got recast in about 92. Because we're talking about being paralyzed as well. Phil Martin. No, we were before about
in the last one. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Phil Martin was someone who got paralyzed in a car crash, went away for a couple of years, came back just walking, didn't even mention it. Just like, oh, he walks again now. Brilliant.
Another day.
So yeah, they showed back up in about 92 with a different actress, Julie Mullins. And apparently she was very, very vocal about how much she hated being on that show and how she hated all the storylines, to the point which led the writers to just fucking kill her off.
I was going to say, that's the quickest way to get out, isn't it? To moan about the storylines and the fact that you hate working there. Well, bye then. Not going to make you a better storyline, are they?
Soap snobbery, but I've took the job anyway. Okay.
Yeah.
We need to go out.
Let's give her a shout.
Give her a shout.
For an email. Go on. Right. Next one? Do you want
next one?
Right. I feel like I'm going to have to do Ari Parata here because just to balance out that low-key racism. So
balance it out.
Are you coming out with some high-level racism now? So I want you.
No.
This the diversity storyline now, isn't
Oh,
it?
that's
Okay.
good. Okay,
Which,
cool.
can I just say, like, Neighbours fans love to remind Home and Away fans about, on a daily, about diversity. I'm sure you know. So they're probably going to come and, come for me now. The Paratas are a Maori family introduced into Home and Away a couple of years back now, 3-4 years ago. And Ari was the big brother, and this is again another sort of brother type. 3 brothers. Was it 3? Ari, Tani.
There was 3,
Oh,
yeah.
One had already died,
One
hadn't
had
he?
already died. Yeah.
In a bank robbery or something gone wrong. And Ari was in prison for his involvement in that, and had come to the Bay because in the prison he met one of the Riverboy gang while he was in there, who told him how amazing it is in the Bay, how idyllic, it's a good swell. So go and settle there and try and find a job. So he's in town, and there's all sorts of stories, as is, with the family integrating, no money, he's taken some building job, and unfortunately now it's very out of the blue. This is another one we'd need to really know if there's any behind the scenes gossip here, because it's not clear when you read online. Ari's character was diagnosed with cancer and died from said cancer in, was it about a fortnight? So
About 3 episodes, I think. Yeah.
it was really super fast. And in those 3 episodes, we had a deathbed wedding, and what
He was in prison.
yes,
He was in prison he took the rap for a murder that he didn't do, for first of all.
to save his brother. But what was the best about the death was not like, oh, cancer, died. We've seen it 1,000 times, 68 times. But it was it was the Maori culture that made it so special. And help me out here. Was it a haka, Sophie?
I don't remember the name of it, but yeah, basically a hacker, I think. It's got a different name, but yeah.
It was it was all like promoed like Australian television first. It was a process, a death process you'd never seen on a soap before. It was all the Maori people over the family, the whānau, the chants, and how they. It was just so interesting to watch. Like, you could hear a pin drop watching it.
It was the whole grief process, wasn't it? So they had the body in the house. So we actually saw Ari after he died. He was actually in the show for about 4 or 5 episodes, I think, still, wasn't he? Because he was just in the coffin in the house. They were preparing him for the funeral, and all the sort of precursor to the funeral, all the family coming around and basically awake in the house, everyone looking at him and talking to him, and they were singing songs to him and all sorts, weren't they? So he was actually on the show for a good week after he died, I think.
Yeah.
And he came back as a ghost a few times, didn't he?
He did.
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
They need to get blooming Yvette Fielding down there.
They do. She'd be
The
loving
witch
it.
in the diner.
But
Yeah.
they were the first reoccurring Kiwi family on the show, weren't they? So their first ever New Zealand permanent cast. And I think we've still got Tane, haven't we, on the show, the brother of Ari. But that was like a key thing for us, the audience, learning, especially over here. I mean, if you're in Australia, New Zealand, obviously it's something that's a bit more familiar. But over here, we hadn't got. I mean, we've had to learn to pronounce words without being offensive on our podcast, because it's just stuff that we don't know. But we've seen a lot of the Maori culture,
isn't it? Like,
yeah. But it stands out as one of the greatest deaths, because it was completely new.
Yeah.
Like, watching it, just soaking it in, like, oh god, this is so interesting.
well, you're not going to see that on any other soap, are you?
No.
You can see shootings or car crashes or Lost at Sea or whatever, but you're never going to see that on anything else, are you? Really?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Something that's kind of educational about other cultures. I mean, I've learned nothing from watching Neighbours for 20-something years. Absolutely fucking nothing. So If you're talking about points, that's really, really cool.
You've learned how to kill worms quickly.
Yeah.
There you go.
If that
Not like
occasion
that
ever
one.
arrives. Sorry, Adam, go on.
No, I'm just thinking that's a good, that's a dead interesting one. There's no joke. That's a good one to see, and it'd be a good thing for the viewers to see, wouldn't it? You can see that kind of episode winning like an award or something, just because it's highlighting something that no one's seen before. So,
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to win this week.
I think he won. We do an award show every year, and I think last year his death won the best exit, didn't it? Last year for his the whole thing, the whole not his actual death necessarily, but the whole aftermath of it and learning all of this grief process and how they grieve, and yeah, it was really well done. And it's one of those scenes where people have gone back and watched it. I've seen people talk about it on the hashtag on Twitter and say I've gone back and watched those episodes because this is just so interesting, and like you say, something we've not seen before. So, and probably
And
won't
it's
see
really
again.
simple in them. People have
Yeah.
come like Silver says, there was days and days of visiting the house, and Ari was lay out, and you can't go in a Mari house without taking your shoes off, and every episode that any scene is set in this house, every character slips off their flip-flops or something before they walk in.
So it's the attention to detail then that you don't always get on a soap, isn't it? Like we've had a joke about some of the other ones where we said, oh, they forgot about this, or that sounds ridiculous, but they obviously spent a lot of time on it, researching it, and had the right people writing it and had it sorted then, didn't they? The attention to detail is, you can't beat that, really.
Yeah.
It was really well done. Yeah.
Wow, I'm not quite out shot to follow that one.
Well, should we do it with something ridiculous?
Of course. That's the best way. So the next one that we want to bring up is D Bliss. I don't know if you remember D.
Hey, wait.
Toadie.
Fake D.
Toadie's wife.
Yes. One of many Toadie's wives.
She's the one I remember with the blonde hair. Yeah, I remember
Yes.
her.
This was his first wife. So there was a whole storyline where, because D is smoking hot, I would never go for Toadie in a million years. So there was a whole storyline of why is she with Toadie, and it's all because beauty is only skin deep in this, that, and the other, and you're a great person. You're the kind of person that you would marry, and this, that, and the other. Loads of other shenanigans around. Dr. Darcy is very prominent in this, and Dr. Darcy is a very much a firm favourite of ours on there. But they finally get their wedding day. Toadie and Dee are over the moon, and they're driving along.
Whoa! You don't go straight to a death like that. You got to do a bit of a build up.
That was the build up.
That was not a good enough build up.
Okay, all right.
Was she a teacher or something? Was she a teacher?
She was a nurse.
She was a nurse. Oh, okay.
So everyone's in town apart from Dee's family. No one from Dee's family has come to this wedding whatsoever.
Suspicious.
They have a hen do and a stag do. At Toadie's stag do, or Bucks night, well, they call it over there, obviously. He has Connor, Carl Kennedy, and then a couple of other people turn up later, and they go to the pub. They put on silly wigs, and they have quite a good time. Toadie ends up chained to a bus stop, completely naked with a sparkly wig. On Dee's hen do, she has Toadie's mum and Susan Kennedy at first, and she's like, oh, this is shit. But then luckily, Steph Scully, Libby turns up, and all her nursey pals, and she has a good time. They draw on her head, which is brilliant. And then she wakes up the next morning. She goes over to Lynn Scully's house. Lynn Scully says, what have you got on your head? I'm going to have to sort that out. Starts pimping her out to make her look like full-on princess. That's what it is. It's Beauty and the Beast at the end of the day. Toadie has a struggle with his trousers. He cannot do them up. So his dad sews them. He sews the fly and the button together so that he can hold them up. But then at the wedding, Toadie's nervous. He drinks a lot of water, and his dad says, whoa, go easy on that water, son. I've sewn your pants up. You won't be able to get out of there. The reason why I'm highlighting all these ridiculous things beforehand is because you then don't see what's coming. It's like a fun wedding. It's ridiculous. It's all the usual like Toady shenanigans and everything like that. And then all of a sudden, so they get married, brilliant. Like they've done their own vows and it's really nice. And then Lou is driving the limo. The limo breaks down. Why they needed to put this in, I don't really know, but limo breaks down, so they have to borrow another car. And Toady says, well, I'll just drive us to the next, like the reception or whatever it is. Brilliant. So they drive themselves, Dee and Toady, drive off. We see them a little bit down the road. Again, this makes you think there's nothing coming here. They pulled over so that Toady can have a piss and get out of his trousers. They've thrown this in, and it's ridiculous. They get him some new pants out of the boot of the car and discover that he's bought them tickets to the Maldives for a honeymoon that they didn't think they were going on. For some reason, Dee calls them the Maldives. Now, I don't know if this is how they call them. That's what they call them in Australia or not. But she says it twice. She says, I'm so excited to go to the Maldives. And it sounded so weird. I felt that was worth mentioning. So you're like, okay, this is still pretty comical. They're happily ever after. And they start kissing while Toadie's driving the car.
Uh-oh.
Now, JK, you've never kissed a girl before, but you probably wouldn't do that, would you?
I have actually kissed a girl while driving. Well, while sitting in traffic, but then I forgot to put the handbrake on, and I ended up like slowly rolling into the fucking middle lane.
You're an absolute joke. So they're snogging in the car. Toby's taking his eyes off the road. Obviously, he plows right through like a bend in the road sign, straight through it. There is more than enough time to press on the brakes at this stage. But instead, the car seems to speed up a little bit, which is a bit worrying, and it just careers off a cliff.
Yeah, it fucking goes flying, that car.
Yeah.
And then it dives into the sea.
Oh, maybe it was a foreshadowing thing, the dives.
This
yeah.
is it. So they're in the sea, and then that's the end of the episode. Cliffhanger again. Oh, shit, they're in the sea now. Next episode starts. Where the fuck's Dee gone? Toadie's out of the car. There's no way Dee could have gone anywhere. She would also be there because she was in the same car as him, sat next to him with a seatbelt on. But she has vanished. She is gone. She is now lost at sea. What we find out as well in this next episode, when Toadie's brother Stoney arrives, Stonefish, along with Stuart, they see it. They go in to help. They are able to run in the sea up to where the car landed. So it's a bit, you've got to suspend your disbelief a little bit.
Shallow water.
Yeah, she even in a wedding dress could have just paddled back to shore, I think. But instead,
and she's not in the car.
She's not there. She's gone. Toadie's doing I can't find her. Back in. Can't find her. Stonefish runs in. He can't find her. They keep checking the car. She's not there. Eventually, they phone Coast Guard, the police, the ambulance. Carl, Susan turn up. The helicopters appear. And while they're all sat on the beach going, she's got to be out there somewhere. She's got to be out there somewhere. One of the policemen goes, should we call it a day? And they just walk off.
They don't even spend 24 hours. They're like, someone goes, is it 5 o'clock? It's fucking,
yeah.
Can we get off?
Vegemite sandwich time. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and then
Cold.
they just have to assume that she's dead.
So do we not have a body for her?
Right. So this is where it's a bit tricky, and this is where no body, no crime. Go on. So I don't understand this. He's tried telling me this a couple of times, and I don't understand this. So go on.
So 19 years later, so this is like massive folklore. Like Toadie and Dee got married. Dee was missing. They play on this year after year after year. It's always brought up. It's always mentioned. It's always a big part of Toadie's storyline.
But how long did it take him to get over it? How long till he moved on? Was it?
He's married another 9 women since then. Well, here's the thing. Here's the problem. None of them were quite as hot as she was.
Oh.
It's always rankled with him a little bit.
He's peaked. Yeah. Okay.
19 years later, they decide to retcon the whole thing.
Oh shit.
Toadie opens the door one day, and there's Dee. And she's like, "Hi, Toadie. Been a long time." And he's like,
Didn't we
"Yeah,
already do this with Harold? Isn't this very similar to Harold?
Well,
He went up in the sea.
It is, but wait for it. It gets even more mental.
I know this storyline because.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
I don't. This is new
I'll let
news
the
to me.
experts tell you though.
So it later turns out that this woman isn't Dee, actually. She is imposting Dee. She's a woman called Andrea, and she gets eventually found out that she is an imposter. And you're like, oh, well, that was cool. You know, she looks exactly like Dee, but it's an imposter, and she was trying to take the money from Toadie. That's fantastic. A year later, they go, that was pretty cool, that Dee stuff. Let's bring this girl back again. But this time, Andrea goes to Toadie. Actually, I do think Dee is actually still alive and living in some hippie commune. There's a girl called Karen, and she's like, I think I can get in contact with her and meet up with you. At this point, Andrea tries to kill Dee by pushing her off a cliff. So Dee is then nursed back to health by a woman called, oh God, I can't remember. Andrea's mum, I think, is the woman who nurses her back to health. And now this is where I'm struggling as well. Because it then turns that they again retcon everything and go, well, actually, the reason the brakes didn't work 19 something years ago was because this gang were after Andrea and they mistook Dee as Andrea, so tried to put a hit on her and tried to kill her off.
The fucking River Boys, is it?
River Boys.
This is insane.
Don't put it past them.
So
that's
are
like
Dee and Andrea two different people? Are they two different actresses?
No, it's
No,
the
it's
same actress.
Same
playing both.
actress. Oh my God.
I was
Yeah.
hooked on this, you know, before it got cancelled for like the fourth time. After the way, you know, you had to endure Neighbours till the afternoon Channel 5 movie, didn't you? It was only a couple of years ago, this. Or it feels like it.
Yeah, it's fairly. It feels like this should have been 20 years ago, like how bonkers it is. But no, this is pretty recent.
Wow.
Actually, turns out they are sisters because again, we turned them to the well about a year or so later.
They're related.
Yeah, Andrea goes, isn't it weird that she looks exactly fucking like me?
Twins.
So they do some digging and go, oh, actually, yeah, we are twins.
Oh my God.
And the person that's been nursing the real Dee back to health after being pushed off the cliff is her actual real mum, but gave her away, but was unaware that she gave her away.
What?
She didn't realise she pushed out Andrea first and went, fantastic job done. Didn't notice the second one coming out.
What?
Are you
Didn't
getting
notice
some
the
of this stuff for your murder mystery, guys? Because this is the kind of storytelling we want.
This is insane. So she had twins, but thought she had one kid. So who took the kid? I'm so confused. How did the kid escape the hospital?
It's going to make it worse.
Doctor.
Yeah, the doctor took
Leave
the second one and then just kind of went outside and went, anybody want a kid?
Oh my
Anyone?
God.
And then the Blisses ended up with me, and that's how it all ended. And that's why it's a great death, because it was a great death, and then they fucking retconned it and ruined it. But did they ruin it? Because it's great to talk about.
That's blowing my mind.
I still don't understand it, so.
I think it's hoping because we had some telepathic twins. But
we did, but they weren't related.
No, they
Which doesn't make So we
But-
had these twins on the show that were supposed to be non-identical twins, and they could feel when each other was in pain. But then there was a retcon where one of them got swapped at the hospital, so they weren't actually twins. They weren't actually
Yeah.
related.
but that beats that, I must say.
Yeah, twin storylines that you don't know are twins always mess my head up. I'm like, how did she not know she was having two babies? Like, you know.
Yeah, you would know. That's a good soap thing again, isn't it? Anything with twins on a soap is gonna be good, I think.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
messed up.
But that wasn't our last one. I'm guessing we both saved either our favourite or a really bad one or a
Oh, no.
crazy one for the end.
No.
No, we saved a nice fast one.
Okay, good.
No, we're tired and I'm kind of hungry now. I'd like my tea. So
Oh, dear.
go on, Si. Here's with your final one.
Mason Morgan, isn't it? If I'm right.
Yeah, Mason. Mhm.
Right. Mason Morgan, the youngest of three, came to the bay in witness protection, already starting off well. Okay. Witness protection.
4, youngest of 4.
Oh, 4,
No.
sorry. Yeah, there was a drug.
Corey, Justin, Brody, Mason. Yeah, 4.
Not about Brody, and he cheated with that slut Simone, so I don't like him. Anyway.
Never written him on.
So he's they're all in witness protection. So initially they had 2 names, didn't they, as well? That was confusing for a while. He stuck with Mason when it all came out and all got tied. Orphans that stuck together, basically. Their parents died in what can only be described as a serious case of mistaken identity. And they're in the bay in witness protection. And then he is an aspiring doctor and manages to get a placement at Northern Districts, which is the local hospital down in Yabby Creek. Yabby Creek's where characters go. There's things in Yabby Creek characters go and do. There's nothing in Summer Bay. The character needs a doctor, they go to Yabby Creek. If they need the police, they go to Yabby Creek. If they need shopping, they go to Yabby Creek. So he's down at the hospital, and his sister, who is the eldest, he's just in the eldest. She's definitely head of the household, though. She seemed to.
He's the mom, isn't she?
Yeah, she's got the boys in check. She's already a doctor, so he's got the pressure's on. Like he wants to be like his sister. But he keeps making mistakes. He was growing medicinal marijuana in the garage for a while, but he was trying to help a girl out, in pain. So, we'll let him go. And cut a long story short, this is actually what brought in the Parata character. Ari, who we just mentioned before, who died, the Mari character. This is what brought him in, because he's at the hospital doing good deeds when there is a siege, and they're held under hostage on the ward, and he is trying to help. He's trying to calm people down. He's trying to be the nice guy, and it's another shooting. He's shot at the hospital, and he's dead.
What was the siege for? Why is it all kicking off?
What did the sieges want?
That was a massive storyline that was going on with another character in the hospital called Jasmine, who was a nurse, and she was dating Robbo, who was being targeted by a gang. And Jasmine was at hospital working, but she was under protective custody from this gang member, because basically they put a hit out on her. But then it turned out that the protective custody officer that was looking after her had actually dobbed her into the gang. He was working with the gang, so then the gang came to the hospital and held everyone hostage, essentially. So Mason was just like he's just the wrong place, wrong time. And do you remember, Si, when this was kicking off, there was another character called Bella who, to cut a long story short, was a troubled teenager going through some shit, and she was kind of acting out of attention. So she was acting up and wanted attention from her brother, who was a copper. She'd taken a load of pills that day. She'd stolen a load of pills from the hospital, and she was ODing in the toilet, and the gunman didn't know that she was in there at the time, and she was in there with another character called Mac, and Mac suddenly realized that Bella was going to die if she didn't do anything. So they'd called the coppers and said there's gunmen in the hospital, but then they had to go out and face them because Bella was going to die. And that was the reason why Mason got killed, because he was trying to sort of divert them, because they wouldn't help her. They wouldn't let the doctors help Bella, and she was ODing on the floor in the hospital. So Ari and Mason decided to create like a diversion to distract them and try and get the hostages out. So as they're doing that, a load of hostages ran for the door and legged it out, and in the scurry, Mason got shot by the gunman. So that's how he died. He's a good guy, really. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he is. But what's criminal about it was he was completely forgotten, because that hit was out and it was involving Jasmine and Robbo, because Robbo died. Killed Robbo was a huge character. He's called Ryan, the character, but he's called Robbo because he washed up with no memory on the beach. So they called him Robinson Crusoe from it stuck. That's how he was introduced to the beach. He just washed up on the beach and didn't know who he was. He died in the same week, and his death was huge, and it was like a bit of like injustice for Mason, that he sort of died a hero at the hospital siege but never really got the accolades for it. and was long forgotten. And it was, I remember us on the pod going like, is anyone going to mention Mason? You know, like he died. So this one's for Mason.
That's so nice.
Was the girl all right as well in the end?
Bella, well, yeah, she had
fine?
she had some horse therapy and she turned out all
Oh
right
yeah,
in the
she
end.
went to equine therapy. I forgot that.
I think.
She got to stroke some horses on a farm, and then all of her problems went away, and now she's living in New York as a photographer. So
It worked.
Well, it obviously works.
There you go.
Obviously works. That ties quite nicely into our final one, to be honest, because this is anything but equine therapy.
Good one.
I know I can do it sometimes, can't I? Don't give me any compliments though, Adam. I'll mess it up.
I won't, don't worry.
It'll go to my head again. So I suppose 2 points for this one. Obviously the horse link. Also, I think this is probably the death that is obviously devastating at the time, but actually, like, people were still mentioning him months after, and it still felt like there was a big cloud of this character going, which doesn't happen a lot in soaps. You do just forget, as you guys have just mentioned, you know, people do just kind of move on very quickly and stop mentioning this person once the funeral's happened. I'm talking about the death of Drew Kirk, who did fall off a horse and die. Yeah, very, very sudden.
Okay, this is not a laughing matter now. This is not. This is
No.
shit now. Come on.
it was the delivery of the line that made me laugh, not the actual death itself. So, just to clarify.
This one's horrendous. This one got me at the time, and then obviously we rewatched stuff. We rewatched it, and I was like, no, seriously, it's still horrible. This, because he's such a fan. I don't even know if he was a fan favorite. He was, but he was one of our favorites. And you'd got like he'd kind of just joined the cast as just by himself. A bit like Robbo that you said there for yours. He just turns up one day, gets a job at the garage. He hasn't got a family or anything. He's just on his own, and he just becomes part of the show. Obviously, his relationship with Libby that we mentioned earlier, there'd been quite a long will they won't they kind of thing with them. Then eventually did. Then she found out she couldn't have kids. She said she didn't want to marry him. He persisted and said, and eventually they do get married for some reason, a big Scottish wedding with kilts and haggis and all sorts, because Drew Kirk's Scottish now, apparently. So they did all that.
And they do have a baby as well.
They have the baby, which is fabulous, little Ben. And then what? So they've got the perfect family. They've kind of done all they need to do on Ramsay Street. They've kind of, what happens is Drew's dad owns a horse ranch out at Yabby Creek or whatever it's called on Neighbours. I don't know. And he goes off to spend a little to see his dad, because his dad's is his mum died, or is his mum not there, or what's the deal?
No, they think, because his dad rings up and like, you need to come to the farm. He's like, oh fuck, my mum and dad are splitting up here. And I think we eventually find out that his dad's got a few health problems, so he's having to take pills and stuff. He's got like angina, I think is the one.
Yeah, that was it.
He's got some health problems, so he wants his family closer to home. So he's like, listen, I want you here with me, Kirk and Sons, raising horses, selling them on for a massive profit, living in this massive farm. It's the happy ending that you deserve. Yeah.
So Drew's a bit funny though, isn't he? He's like, Drew doesn't want to do it at first because Libby's got her family, Carl and Susan and all that in Ramsay Street. So they're a bit like, oh, it's a great idea. We can help my dad out. It's always been the dream. I've always loved horses and I loved working with them from such a young age. And horses love me. And whenever I ride a horse, I feel so alive. All that kind of stuff. And eventually they go, you know what? We're going to do it. We're going to move. We're going to leave Ramsay Street. And we're going to live here on the ranch. Kirk and Sons, it's happening. So the next day, I don't know if do you want to do it?
We might need a minute here. Minute. So there's this one horse that has been very problematic. Nobody on the farm can break this horse at all.
It's a right bastard. It's the mental horse. It's black for a kickoff. Like it's an evil horse. It's like a scary horse. No one can tame this horse.
Does it have a name? This horse?
nightmare or something.
So
Okay.
Drew Kirk goes, don't worry, I will break that horse. Have you seen my hair? It's fucking beautiful. I'm beautiful. I will look majestic breaking this horse. No problem at all. Gets on this horse. He gets up early in the morning because he's so excited about living
Everyone's
on a farm.
excited.
He's got his whole life ahead of him.
Libby gets on a horse. She gets on one of the little Shetland ones and she totters off. And she's like, we did it, Drew. This is our moment. Drew says, yeah, I'm just going to get on this fucking mental horse. See you in a second.
And honestly, he doesn't. Do you like those, like in America where they have those buckaroo kind of things and you have mechanical bulls? It's like that. He doesn't last like 2 fucking seconds. He literally, Libby turns around, he's on the fucking floor. He's like, fuck, bang on the floor. Libby's like, Drew, runs over, and Drew knows he's fucked. He knows he's absolutely fucked. Straight away, he's just like, I'm fucked here. Libby, I love you. Tell Ben I love him as well. And she's like, what do you mean? You'll be fine. And he's like, no, I'm fucked here. I'm
Right, so, but you don't think he is, because he's talking, he's saying I'm fucked, but you don't believe it. And they put him in the stretcher and they get the helicopter to come and he comes and airlifts him off to the hospital. Libby's like, think Drew's fucked here, to Carl on the phone. Carl says, I'll be there in a bit. He's Drew Kirk. He's a fan favourite on the show and you're having a happily ever after. So there's nothing that could possibly happen to him. Next episode, we're at the hospital. Everyone's shitting it because everyone's like, oh, he's fallen off his horse. He's really good at horses, but he'll probably be fine because his hair is fabulous. And then doctor comes out, calls Carl over because Carl's a doctor, obviously. He goes, Carl. He's like, yeah, is he all right? Fucked, mate. No, gone. He's fucking gone. And Carl goes, what? It's like they didn't tell any of the other cast members that this was going to happen.
Yeah, which does make it so. It does make it that more harrowing now because it is off screen and you're not expecting it. Like generally most soaps, you do get that, you get that flat line, etc. You get to see the moment they expire. But you do this one, it's just such a shock and everyone just has to react to it. And Libby is fantastic in the scene, just completely breaks down, just starts like heaving and screaming and then all his mates and the family around just don't know what to do. It's really well acted by everybody. They got all the good people in for this scene, didn't they? Because it's a fairly random mix of people.
But it's everyone who you'd want on the show, like there, it's like to see it and everything. But it's one of them where, like in not necessarily a soap, but a film or something, when a lead character dies and you think, whoa, that wasn't supposed to happen. You're supposed to get to the end of the film or something like that. And that's what it kind of felt like, because he was such a big part of the show, and he was kind of like, he hadn't been on it that long either, and he was a younger character. It was one of them where it was like, whoa, Drew can't die. We'll come back in a minute.
It's gutsy, the show. Sorry to interrupt. It's gutsy, I was going to say, about to do that to such a massive character. And a big sort of, these, because especially the Aussie soaps, they do like to do these power couples every decade or so, don't they?
Yeah.
To do that to that big power couple of an art is a gutsy move. Actually, that could have that's that's gambling. That
the writers
the other way. I think you're right, and as well, like, because it was out of the blue, like a lot of the times with a death, you can kind of see it coming. Oh, there's a gang coming and something bad's going to happen at some point, or those two characters haven't been getting along. It's got to come to a head at some point. This was one of them where it was like, they're fine. They've got everything they wanted. They're going to get the happy ending. No, they're not. Oh, one of them.
How did you feel if he was one of your favourite characters? How did you feel about not actually seeing his death? Because I always feel a bit cheated when it sounds really creepy, but I like to see them die. I want to see the body. I want to see.
Wow.
I want to see the flat line. I want to see the head explode. I want to see the death.
To a certain degree, you do, don't you? Because it's like your chance to say goodbye to them in a way. Does that sound a bit? I don't know. But with this one, it like I said, it was one of them where you thought, well, someone will come in a minute and say, oh no, he's okay,
Yeah.
but they
There's no
never
closure.
did.
There's no
And yeah,
closure
you
to
just kind of
it.
sat waiting for it. And then like the next episode, what they did for the next episode with the fallout kind of thing, it was kind of a couple of days later, and it was everyone just kind of picking up the pieces. It wasn't like the next that like it picked up straight away and it was everyone's in the hospital and what do we do next? It was people coming in and going, that was a good funeral for
they filmed
Drew.
it. They filmed it as well as like, do you know, like is this really happening? Like it all felt kind of dreamlike almost. Like, is this shit? Is this really what's happening? And they do rush through the funeral a little bit, just again to really kind of shock you and shake out of it. And then the end of the episode with Libby going, like, what the fuck do I do now? Like, and I remember watching it going, yeah, what the fuck do we do now? Like, I don't know if I can watch tomorrow.
Maybe you were supposed to feel that bewilderment with them then. Maybe it was meant to be shocking and like confusing, and maybe it's not happened, and that kind of denial of maybe they're not really dead and they're just going to walk through the door, because you do feel that when someone really dies, don't you? So maybe it was meant to feel that way rather than I just always feel cheated when you don't see it. I'm always like, but I was watching that. I want to see the end. It's like someone stopping a film.
The reaction, audience reaction back then to that. You know, like was it obvious? Was it apparent that there was a bit of like a shock reaction from the viewers?
I think there must have been, like you say, because they were the couple at the time and they've been through so much. It's just kind of natural to think, oh well, they're love characters, they're going to get the ending. And when they didn't, I think there was probably a bit of a, not a backlash, but everyone was just a bit, like you say, a bit bewildered by the whole thing. But what can you do if you watch a soap, people die, and you tune in again tomorrow to see what's happening next?
We were actually lucky enough to speak to Dan Paris, who's the actor as well. And he actually told us that the writers had to convince him that he was going to die. Because I think the original plan was that they do go off and have this. Because the actor is like, I've kind of been on a couple of years. Like I said, they've done all their storylines almost. They just needed to go off into the sunset at this point. And the writer said, listen, if you don't die, you're going to be tempted to come back in a couple of years. So if you really want to go and do what you want to do and go and live your life, then you need to die.
Okay, that's to talk him into it. Yeah,
so they had to talk him into it, and as sad as it was, I'm kind of good. I'm kind of glad that they did, because it's really, really iconic for us. And I think everyone, like, it's not often we talk to other people outside about Neighbours. We try and keep it hush hush if we're honest. But
embrace it. It's fine.
Did he get his ghost moment? Because if it had been
he'd
he
have
did a couple of years later, but it wasn't with his wife though. That was a bit.
Was
weird.
he riding a horse or?
No. So the Steph Scully was massive.
I just want to see a ghost on a horse.
That would be good.
It would be good, wouldn't it?
Tamed it. I broke it now. Everything's fine in heaven.
Just right down Ramsey Street. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be the horse. Maybe the horse dies and then they get reunited and he goes, I'm sorry. And he's like, it's okay, dude. That could be a storyline.
But yeah, he does get his ghost moment, which was.
But then
nice.
they also did, like I was saying before about those web series, they did Neighbours versus Zombies, and he comes back as a zombie at one point.
There we go.
So he was tempted to come back, and
there's always a chance.
So they were right. If they hadn't have killed him, he'd have been back on the show, wouldn't he?
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
How was his dad after that? His dad was like, come and live with me because I've got angina, and then his son dies because of that decision.
I don't think it helped his angina. If I'm
no.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
They might have had to up his dosage after that.
Yeah. Oh god, poor dad.
Oh, so there we go. I'm feeling pretty. Yeah, I feel like I've been in a fight. If I'm honest. Yeah, I feel like I've given my all there. I'm feeling pretty drained. But
that's what happens when you talk about deaths for the best part of 2 hours, I imagine. Like, when's this going out? It's going to be just after Halloween, innit? For the macabre people among us. People like Sophie want to see dead bodies and things like that.
Yeah. I don't want to be written out. I want to be killed off.
It can be arranged in March.
So there we go. Do you think it's going to go to what? Do you think you've equalised? Do you think it's going to be 1 round each with that one? Because
I don't know.
Don't know how to
I think it's going to be
predict this
close
one.
again.
It's going to be very, very close.
I think the vote. I think people are going to. They're entrenched. I think they're entrenched. Let's see.
Okay, well, like I say, it's not up to us. We think we fought a good fight, but it is up to the listeners to decide. We'll put out the Twitter polls as usual. You can also contact us via all our socials and all the feedback and let us know what you think the best deaths were. Was it in Neighbours? Was it in A Home and Away? You lot decide. Thank you for listening, and we will do this again very, very soon. But I'm going to need a sleep before that. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
We belong together.